Heart here. I decided to make a video on art styles. Yee! I did this because I thought, why not? So what's going to happen in this video is basically I'm going to use different art styles that either I was really interested in or have some kind of importance to me. There's going to be 3 different art styles I'm going to draw and then my own art style. And I'll get more on my own art style at the end of the video. Or, I guess, near the end? So for this video, whenever I'm drawing another person's art style, I am going to talk about why I chose a style. I'm going to talk about the reason why I designed my character for that style, along with other things, mostly about what I like and don't like, or I should say what was hard and what was easy for drawing that style. But before this gets too long, let's just get on to the video! Yeah! So, the first art style that I chose was Eds World! Obviously, I love Eds World. It's awesome. I'm so happy it's coming back! Yes! I have had too much sugar today, dear God. Okay. One of the main reasons why I chose this style is because it was the first style I actually tried. And it was the quote-unquote base style for me. I was working with the Eds World style and then I changed things depending on how I felt wanted to be changed. Like I didn't like the eyes, so I changed the eyes. I didn't like the mouth, I changed mouth, hands, ears, etc. Now I just don't draw ears. But I just continued changing things based on that. I added things, took away things, and then eventually it became my own style. But this time I'm going to actually do the full style. When I first started this, I didn't really copy the style like line for line. It wasn't the full style itself. There was a bit of changes, obviously. So this is the first time I'm actually going to try the full Eds World art style. And for this one, if you haven't noticed, I'm choosing the the newer version, the one from the latest video. And you can probably tell because I stole a bunch of snapshots from it. And I did that so I could have a reference for everything, from the hands to the face to different expressions. I just really like to have that so I can see and be able to tell from different things. So I can merge it together into one. Because that helps me. So even though it's supposed to be easier, I still ran into a problem. The shoes. They never showed the shoes in that episode, so I did it based off how I remember they used to do it. It doesn't look quite right. But, oh well, probably one of the biggest problems was that I realized I was messing up the shoes. The shoes are based off of a pair I actually have. And, oh my gosh, it took me a while just to figure out how to properly draw it, and then it just didn't really end up looking like their style for one of them. But it was good enough for me. It didn't look it wasn't out of place, and it wasn't something that would really bother me. The one thing that you might have noticed is the cat ears and my cat ears, tail, and my wings. Because I'm drawing my persona here. They're gone. Poof! Magic! I decided not to include them because for me it would be very difficult to incorporate that into my drawing without it looking forced. Because I'm not entirely sure how they would draw wings and cat ears and tails. So I decided to leave it out just for simplicity, to make it look more Eds World, if you would. Well, not even more Eds World, just to ensure that I don't end up messing something up, because like I said, I don't really see how they would draw cat ears and tails and all that. But in the end, I think I did a decent job. It's definitely much more interesting than... It turned out much better than I had initially anticipated. Looking at it, it's not the best, but it will do. Second art style that I really wanted to do is seasonal feathers. Oh my lord, her art style is so cute! And I've always wanted to properly analyze her style and practice it, but I never really had a good enough excuse. Now I do! Thank you so much, Brain, for making me do this. It's awesome, but I hate you at the same time. So in this one, you probably realize that I haven't put any references on the canvas. That's because I didn't want I was worried that for this one there might be problems. So I took a bunch of screenshots and they're on the photo. They're in my photos. It was much more difficult, but in the end, whatever. I'm a masochist. It's fine. It's whatever. No, I'm not a masochist. I'm a psychopath. There's a difference. I just am crazy in general. The most difficult part for this drawing was actually deciding how to draw the tail, because in this one I chose to do Marine. This is Marine. I decided to do her because Seasonal Feathers tends to draw more animal-like characters, which is completely fine. An artist can create whatever kind of creature they want and they can stick to with that. It just, whenever someone else tries to mimic it, they might end up just reusing the creatures. But since I had my own creature that I could reference some things off of, I ended up just kind of keeping it. I just ended up kind of just trying to keep it that way, using her art style just to create Marine, which seems to be the most common thing I can create. See, it just seemed to work with her art style, okay? I'm not going to get any more into that. My favorite part about this was actually the fur and wings. It turned out so good and actually really helped with just drawing fluff. I was never really able to give Marine too much fluff. She wasn't very poofy, and I wanted her to have like a bit of fluff in some places, but I couldn't really express that properly. This did really help, so this was actually a blessing in disguise. Like, besides having the tail, I didn't find any problems, and the problems I face are mostly just my opinion. Like, it was just difficult to interpret what she would draw and try to imagine what Seasonal would draw and put it into my own character. Also, all the art styles I do, like, I went and put some reference information into the description for YouTube channels if I can. So if you want to check them out, go ahead. If you haven't already checked out Seasonal Feather, she's amazing. Third art style, which I won't be able to actually put a link in the description, is Steven Universe. And very obvious reasons why I can't put a link in the description, because there is no links. There is no channel. The Steven Universe style, it was never really something I was too interested in, like, studying or even practicing. But I mean, like, it does hold an important place because it is where I had the inspiration for my first persona, per se. which, you know, it's very important for me. So I decided to use the style as well. Not to mention, they have birds, cats, and humans. Perfect for me. So I was able to draw both my persona and Marine. I tried to draw my persona with a little gem, because, yeah. FYI, the gem is a Tarzanite. Yes, that's what I am. Fight me. I chose it because it's blue, and I like blue. Honestly, like, the style, because it wasn't really something I was interested in, I found I had a lot more problems with it. Especially revolving around Marine. The way how they draw cats isn't typically how I would draw them, especially the head. The head just... I love the way how they drew the cats, but it was more difficult for me to interpret that because it didn't really seem right. Sometimes I made the heads too big, or it always just seemed a bit too big, but it's supposed to be big. And then the eyes always just end up looking really demonic, which isn't the case. They're not demonic. It's weird because whenever I look at the Eds World, when I look at the Steven Universe style, they look really, they look like cats. They look cute. There's nothing wrong with them. I don't know, maybe it just seemed weird because it was just a cat with wings. I don't know. It just was more difficult for me, and also my own head even was more difficult because I'm not really used to the way how they draw people's heads, because they definitely go more with a shape here. Pearl tends to have a more, teardrop, Pearl tends to have a more pointed, Amethyst is kind of round, Garnet is obviously extremely square, Steven is also round and pudgy. So it was more difficult for me to interpret that because I don't really work too much with shape theory. If you want to learn more about shape theory, there's a bunch of YouTube videos. I'm not too good for explaining it, but long story short, depending on how you draw your character, sometimes you want to choose a certain shape that represents them, and depending on the shape will kind of express different things. Rounds tends to be more like playful and wholesome. Pointed tends to be more, you know, directed, uptight, serious, and then square tends to be like square and rectangles tend to be more sturdy. That's just the basics. You can go ahead and watch other videos. They'll explain it much better than I can. But it was just more difficult because I don't really work too much with those kinds of theories. Although I probably should. So drawing the head, it was definitely much more of a task. But in the end, it turned out great. It wasn't the best work. It wasn't my worst work. I was happy with it until I realized I didn't draw the gem. I didn't draw the gem. So I had to go back, draw it again, and hate myself while drawing it. Because I knew if I didn't fix it, that would be the thing that would wake me up in the middle of the night so I could fix it. So I quickly fixed it. It didn't really improve the drawing whatsoever, it just added a little bit of flair. Although I do like the necklace I ended up choosing. Oh well, it didn't really improve the art itself, but it was just that little touch that I needed to fix for myself. So now I'm going to go on to the final art style. The final drawing is in my art style, or should I say, my new art style. Okay, so lately I haven't been too happy with my style. I feel like as if there's things I should change. But doing this was a great excuse. So that's why I did it. So I have an excuse to actually improve on my own art style. And this is a 3-in-1. I get a video. I have an excuse to improve my own art style. And I get to actually prove to a lot of people that by practicing in other art styles, it really does improve. It helps you improve tremendously. You don't have to, but like it does help when you can reference someone else's and then practice in their art style to grow on your own, to change it. And you know what? I may have used other styles. Like I definitely started taking a lot more of seasonal feather style, but by doing that I just improved on mine. And that's kind of like, that's one of the reasons why I did this, just to show that you can improve on your art style by practicing with others. Now, like I said, some artists, Seasonal Feather for this example, Seasonal Feather and Eds World for these examples, they do have a very limited like creature variety, which is fine. If you want to create just humans, you create just humans. If you want to create just animals, you create just animals. If you want to create some weird hybrid between the two, you create a weird hybrid between the two. It just can become more difficult because if a new artist attempts to practice with the original artist style, but the original artist doesn't have too much creature variety, the inspired artist might become attacked by the fans because the fans will think that the inspired artist is stealing from the original artist, which isn't true. And I've seen a lot of annoying hate and annoying trauma being stirred up because someone was using another person's art style. That is completely fine, people, alright? Put down them pitchforks. Put the pitchforks down. I see them. Put them down. It's fine. No one's tracing. You just have to look carefully. Alright, make sure you do your research before you start charging. We don't need a crusade. This is 2020. We don't need crusades. Dang nabbit. I would swear, but I don't feel like it. So, just make sure you know the facts before you point fingers. And lots of times people are just referencing other art styles to improve on their own. I'm showing you how I was able to improve on my own art style. And you know what? That's completely fine. This video is going to get too long. I don't have a good transfer from the end to credits, so consider this a transfer. This is the end of the video! Thank you so much for watching, and remember to stay awesome.